Good evening from Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. Welcome back to TVRI World. We are continuing the whole day coverage of the election here in Indonesia. It is 14th of February 2024, and while the rest of the world is waking up to Valentine's Day, Indonesians everywhere is showing their love by heading to the polls. But by now, the polls are already closed at 1 p.m. And we've had quick count results showing up by 3 p.m., which means now we're going to get to the itty-gritty of it to talk about the quick count results. For the next few hours, you'll have me, Siska Becker.
And me, Audrey Toyo. And since this morning, Siska, we have been having live coverage since about 8 a.m. in the morning on TVRI World. We have seen the enthusiasm of voters that brave, especially storms and rains in some parts of Indonesia in order to vote. And after this, we are going to discuss about how the ambience is, especially as we are closing the day, and to see the contender and possibly the winner of the 2024 election. So stay tuned definitely for that in this coverage. And currently joining us in the studio, we also have several experts who will enlighten us on this portion on the quick count, especially on the polling and survey. Well, we are so glad to have these experts. We would like to introduce, first of all, Dr. Wijayanto, Associate Professor, Digital Politics and Democracy, Universitas Diponegoro, and Director of Center for Media and Democracy. Hello, Doctor.
Hello.
Yes,
thank you for
good evening.
having me.
Thank you for being here.
We also have Dr. Atikah Nur Alami, Head of Political Research Center, National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Siska. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. And then we also have Bapak Kennedy Muslim, Chief Researcher, Surveyor Indikator Politik Indonesia.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening, Audrey, Siska.
Yes, very
Thank you for having
excited
me.
to learn from you, to get better understanding and better context, especially concerning the data that we get from the quick count results, so we can understand more. What does it mean actually for the rest of the election season, and what does it mean for the political landscape in Indonesia? But before that, actually we're going now to be connected with an Indonesian diaspora living in Singapore to learn more how is election day in Singapore.
Yes, Siska. As Election Day in Singapore was a few days ago, we are definitely excited to learn more. We have Dwi Handi Yusajab, Indonesian diaspora in Singapore. Hello, good evening.
Good
Dwi Handi.
evening.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now, Dwi Handi, please tell us, how was election day in Singapore? Did you have good turnout? Was the vibe really celebratory like it was today here in Indonesia? Tell us everything.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the same. A lot of the Indonesians here based in Singapore are excited to provide their voice and make it work and make it count for the election. So on the 11th, when we came by, the procedure was very neatly arranged by the KBRI as well as the panitia when they arranged for this election. It was very seamless. It has a lot of enthusiasm from everyone taking photo and selfie along the way towards the election booth. So it was really a fantastic experience to be a part of.
Yes, and can you enlighten us, how many polling stations are in Singapore and where are they located specifically?
So there are 60. There are 60 ballots, but the polling station is only at the KBRI, which is the Indonesian embassy here in Singapore.
Only at the KBRI. And
So everyone from every different parts of Singapore comes into the embassy.
All right, Dwi Handi, now maybe you can also enlighten us and tell us more about how do you see the voters' demographics that turned out at the embassy there in Singapore? Because we've been hearing a lot about how big of a chunk are the young voters in this election in 2024. Is it the same also in Singapore? Do you see a lot of first-time voters, young voters showing up in Singapore to vote?
Yeah, I think what's happening here in Singapore, when we look at it from the majority votes, so far, we definitely see a lot more votes coming in from the domestic workers, for example. a lot of the seafarers because they make up quite a significant portion of the Indonesian voters here in Singapore. However, at the same time, we are also seeing quite a good numbers or turnouts from the students, right? There's a lot of university students specifically this time has a lot more enthusiasm. They come by in throngs, like in a big group, and they really take selfies together again. Like they feel so proud to be part of this of the election season, right? And everybody, and because of that, we are also seeing people coming in as a family for the first time. And yeah, that's the general view so far.
Well, it is the name Pesta Demokrasi, so the ambience should definitely be joyful and hopeful, as you said. Well, Dwi Handi, thank you so much. Now we are just going to go to the studio to engage in conversation with our sources. So thank you, Dwi Handi.
Thank you, Dwi Handi. Send our best regards to everyone in Singapore. Hope you enjoy the rest of the election season.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. All right, now let's get to our conversation with our guest experts. Now, before we dive into the details of the quick count results, first we would love to get your general assessment of your take about the general election of 2024. What do you think of it? What do you think of the whole campaign season, the election process today? How does it differ from the previous election that we had? Maybe we can start with Mbak Atika first.
Okay, thank you, Siska. Yeah, I think we should acknowledge that the 2024 general election is the world's largest and the most complex single-day elections. In terms of the number of voters, for example, we have about 200 million voters, registered
More
voters,
than 200 million
200 million voters, which half of them are younger voters and first-time voters, and also they have to give their vote at about maybe 800,000 polling station. So you can imagine how the complexity of the the situation and also the ballots. And in this election, they have to choose not only the president and vice president, but also the parliamentary and the local representative. So in that sense, I mean, the voters will face actually five different ballots. So they have to face kind of big, paper to choose which candidate they should choose. I think in that sense, yes, it shows that it's very complex one. And in terms of the general assessment of the election, if we look at the stages, the implementation stages of general election, from the formulation of regulation and the registration of candidate and also the participants until the voting day. I think in general the stages has been according to the plan. It run quite smooth in that sense. So I think we have to appreciate the general election, the Commission of General Election, in general, and in that sense, yes, it runs smoothly. But we're still waiting of the final result of the election. I think and the election, the commissioner also tried to prepare the distribution of the voting materials beforehand, and also the Bawaslu or the monitoring body also tried to consolidate the monitoring process among their officials.
Right. Now to follow up on Mbak Atika's assessment there, you're absolutely right. This is the world's largest one-day democratic election. It is considered as an enormous undertaking actually by Indonesia. We are the biggest archipelago, third biggest democracy with more than 200 million votes, spreading across 800,000 polling stations. So logistically, it's actually quite a nightmare to tackle with. Now, Pak Wijayanto, maybe you can give us your take. How is Indonesia now seen in the global democracy landscape now that we have succeeded in tackling this enormous task?
Thank you for the question. So, yes, indeed, Indonesia is the third world largest democracy after the US and India. And you know what? The world is looking at us right now. An hour ago, a journalist from Belgium, he interviewed me about what at stake for Indonesian democracy with regard to our election. So I have to first acknowledge the achievement of the KPU, Indonesian Electoral Commission. I must say, because I also was there myself.
Yes.
To wish everyone.
So was I.
Right?
We all voted,
we all
right?
voted.
All voted.
Right. So I guess it went smoothly, technically.
Okay. All right.
But election is not just about election itself, but it's also about democracy.
Yes.
And have to be honest here that, actually when we talk about Indonesia and the global landscape of democracy, now we are having a global democratic recession. And
How do you mean?
so our democracy is declining, at least in this last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And it's based on
In
the
Indonesia, you mean?
Indonesia as well.
Okay.
So if we take a look at the literature in political science, so we can see that in the last 5 years, we will find terms such as democratic aggression, democratic declining. It means a slow process in which democracy is, losing its norms, and where the actors of democracy are abandoning the values, the democratic values, and also the democratic cultures. So, and against the backdrop of the global context in which, Indonesia was actually a role model of democracy. Why people really hope that Indonesian democracy will be succeeded? Because, we are the largest democracy, but we are also world's most populous Muslim country in the world. So, the world sees us as the model in which, Islam and democracy can go together, can reconcile each other, the values. But so that's why it's important. So the trend that in the last 5 or 6 years our democracy is declining, so it's a bit worrying. And the election is actually a task for our democracy to demonstrate to the world that we can recover, we can save our democracy. And I guess in this regard there will be some notes on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. So the decline of democracy, as you said, is it a global trend or is it just in Indonesia?
Yes. I have to mention one name. His name is Larry Diamond. He's a political scientist like me, and he's the one who coined the global democratic recession. But he's not the only one. I guess many survey institutions and also research institutions all over the world, we are witnessing the global democratic recession. Indonesia is not an exception. So we, of course, hope that our election that is successful today, is one of sign that we are regaining our democracy. But we have to examine what's happening, before the election, during the election, and afterwards. And we have to give some notes in this regard. I must say, some process approaching the election, such as problems of ethics in terms of the decision of the Constitutional Court, as well as there's also some decision on the ethic of the the chairperson of the Indonesian Electoral Commission as well, and some other notes in that regard, the neutrality of the government as well. So I guess some of those factors maybe we can put as homework for the future. But of course, in general, we have to be grateful that we have today express our love. I like the words. Express our love to the country by going to the
for the motherland, right?
Everywhere in the world.
All right. Thank you for your eye-opening and quite sobering insights.
Indeed, thank you so much. And there's still lots to examine, and we shall dig deeper into that in this lively conversation today. Well, now we are joined with TVR World reporter Aryo Bagus, who's from Yogyakarta. Hello, Aryo. Can you please enlighten us about what is the general ambience of mood of the polling station and the quick counts in Yogyakarta right now?
Well, Siska and Audrey, where I'm now reporting is the polling station where one of the vice presidential candidate, which is Mahfud MD, casted his vote earlier this morning at around 8 a.m. And presidential candidate Ganjar Pranowo casted his vote in Semarang, Central Java, as vice presidential candidate Gibran Rakabuming Raka voted in Surakarta, Central Java. As soon as the polling station opened at around 8 a.m., as I have mentioned before, Mahfud MD arrived with his wife Zaizatun Nihayati and his youngest son Royhan Akbar. Previously, Mahfud MD invited all journalists covering the election day in Maguwo Harjo to have a breakfast together before heading to the polling station. Moving on to Semarang at around 8:30 a.m., presidential candidate Ganjar Pranowo with his wife Siti Atikoh and son Alam Ganjar came to polling station at around 11. After voting, Ganjar Pranowo stated that winning or losing in this election would be the same. He also expressed optimism on result of this year's general election. As Mahfud MD and Ganjar Pranowo decided to come to the voting station so early, Vice Presidential candidate Gibran Rakabuming Raka came to voting station where he casted his vote at around 11. He with wife Selfie Ananda spent about 10 minutes at the poll station before heading home. Siska, Audrey.
Yes, Aryo, and now as we are closing at the end of the day, can you give us updates, especially on the vote counting process in the 3 polling stations that you mentioned?
Well, vote counting for presidential was completed a few hours ago, and the result had also been officially announced by polling station organizing committee or KPPS in each stations. And I will mention and elaborate each result of the national election in each stations. Firstly, at Ganjar Pranowo's polling station, he and Mahfud MD got the highest total votes with 172. Anies Baswedan Muhaimin Iskandar with 19 votes, and Prabowo Subianto Gibran Rakabuming Raka gained 76 votes. In Mahfud MD's polling station, he and Ganjar Pranowo got the highest total votes with 127. Anies Muhaimin with 59, while Prabowo Gibran with 70 votes. And last, in Gibran Rakabuming Raka's polling station, he and Prabowo gained the highest total votes with 110. Anies Muhaimin with 6 votes, while Ganjar Mahfud with 53 votes. And that wraps up our report for TVRI World, reporting live from Sleman, Yogyakarta. Back to you, Siska, Audrey.
Right, thank you, Aryo Bagus, for that comprehensive reporting from Sleman, Yogyakarta. Thank you so much. All right, now let's go back to our guest experts in the studio. We still haven't heard from you, Mas Kennedy, about your take about this election. As we mentioned before, it is considered one of the biggest undertaking in global democracy. There's been some notes as well on the side that's been probably, we can say, some controversies attached to this election. But in your opinion, in your expertise, what has been the highlights of this election in 2024?
Yes, I would agree with my two guests before me, and we have to appreciate the hard work of our election commission, that this election has been proceeding smoothly so far. And I think the sign of a good democracy is the loser can concede peacefully also. That's a sign of a
peaceful transfer
of power. That's a good sign of that's a healthy sign of a democracy. But I agree with Dr. Wijayanto that there are some notes during this process. Because some of our high-profile academics or voice out their concerns about the democratic health in this country. But overall, I think this has been a successful election and it has gone peacefully, and that's a good sign for everyone.
And it's been quite interesting because I did hear about from some high-level academics who did voice out, especially just days before the election. I think there is possibly some new documentation that are spreading in social media. And I think we have never encountered this type of commentary before in the 2014 elections. What do you think, especially Mas Kennedy, from the 2014 elections are some of the biggest, 2014 and 2019, some of the biggest differences from this 2024? Because we've seen that Jokowi's reign from 2014 until now, I mean, there's been lots of things that have happened, not only in Indonesia, but also in the world that have changed our geopolitical landscape. So what are some of the biggest differences in your opinion?
Yeah, I think this election is, the electoral zeitgeist of this election is a referendum of Jokowi's administration. And since we've been doing surveys for the past like 2 to 3 years, and up until this election day, like we've seen how the dramas involving first Pak Jokowi was endorsing Ganjar, and then he switched to Pak Prabowo, and Mas Gibran, his eldest son, as the running mate.
Yes, a political soap opera, it feels like that.
It feels like political soap operas, and the split between the president and his own party, that's really influenced the election, and that's the theme of the election. But with the very high approval of Pak Jokowi, President Jokowi, we
still around 70%.
Yeah, our last data is around 79 up to 80%.
Okay.
And we've done the exit poll this morning, and it's also very stable at 80%, the approval for Pak Jokowi, and which is why we saw in the quick count results today that it really helps Pak Prabowo and Mas Gibran in the at least based on the quick count results we see on our TV screen right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you point that out, Mas Kennedy, when you say that some people are feeling disenchanted with Jokowi's administration because of those issues that we mentioned. But I think some people are saying those feelings, those disenchantments are only felt by the urban elites, by people living in the city, the educated voters. But for rural voters, for people outside Java, the approval rating is off the charts for President Joko Widodo. So what does that mean? What do you think, Mbak Atika?
Yeah, I think some people, I mean, in the urban area, I think they have a high approval rating, and really, I mean, happy with the job or the work of the president, how he handled the government. But I think beside the participation of young people, young voters, I think I have to highlight two, I think, important issues during this election. The first, as I mentioned also, Mas Kennedy, is about the state interference. Yes, state interference, how the current government, the President Jokowi, kind of have a state facilities to support the particular candidate. I can mention that the Prabowo Gibran candidates. And secondly, about the ethical issues, ethical violation, which kind of paved the way of the Gibran to run as a vice president. I think in that sense, yes, it should. We expect that. We think that those issues become, one of the consideration for the voters. But if we look at the result of the quick count, it's really not really a matter for for the common people. So yeah, that's maybe the case. Yeah.
And why do you think, Mbak Atika, the approval rate is, as we can see in the quick count, is still so high? Is it due to the big, let's say, infrastructure projects that Jokowi has taken that has, truly affected people in the rural or more remote areas, or is it, it's the difficulty of changing people's perspective and mindset, because it's been a decade, a whole decade. So what do you think are some of the biggest contributing factors?
I think I agree that during the 10 years of Jokowi, the mindset of they agree with the government's policy and also the infrastructure project, and also how the government really have a policy to give, kind of assistance, funding assistance to the people that really become their needs to have that, intervention. In that sense, I can see that the approval rating of Jokowi, why it's still high, because they think that Jokowi is still being part of them, still, reflect, the common people, how Jokowi has been seen, have a commitment on the needs of the people, on the, kind of the infrastructure issues, their livelihood. That's why I think that sense, they still have kind of a very, confidence on the Jokowi and trust also to the Jokowi government. Yeah,
I think we can say that team number 2 successfully rode Jokowi's wave into practically winning this election.
Yes.
Now, before we dissect the quick count data results, I would also like to point out another comparison with the previous election. In the previous election, if you can remember, there was a lot of talk about identity politics. And a lot of people are saying that it's so good that in this election, we hardly see it. I mean, the polarization, of course, it's still there. Divisions are still there. But it seems like none of the candidates are tapping into that to garner votes. Now, Pak Wijayanto, you're smiling a little bit there, so maybe you have something to say about that. Does it mean that we have grown as a democracy, or is it something else, you think?
So, before I go there, I would like to comment a little bit about what the elections means. Because election is also, a way of, renewing the legitimacy of the government, right? And that's what at stake. So we have to give notes to those have been mentioned by Dr. Atika and also Mas Kennedy as notes for the future. We will maybe come back there and explore a little bit better. But with regard to the questions about the identity politics, this is very interesting because the big question is why we haven't seen, I guess, not so much this time compared to before, right? I guess there are at least 3 factors explaining this. First is because we remember back then we only have 2 candidates, right? We have only, interestingly, Prabowo and Jokowi, who are now
in the same
room,
team,
right? The same team.
Politics, right? Very fluid, very dynamic.
And it's very easy to then trigger the polarization. And we remember back then, Jokowi and also Prabowo, they have candidates from Muslim as well, right? And it was used for triggering the identity politics. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I guess, it's the role of, I must say, the cyber troops.
Cyber troops?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Diponegoro University and University of Amsterdam and also Leiden University, we conducted research, and we found that there are a cyber team of digital activists who are, operating influencing the public opinion, especially in the social media. And one of the means that they used were the identity politics. Sometimes it also used disinformation. So with regard to identity politics, like talking about whether, maybe you remember in the last election, people asked about whether or not Pak Prabowo praying in the Friday. Right? And also there were issue of communists as well. Attached to President Jokowi back then.
At that time,
And we haven't heard about it. I guess some of the reasons now we have, that would be the third reason, we have 3 pairs of candidates. And if we take a look at the team, they all have Muslim with them. Anies is a symbol of modern Muslim, I must say. And Muhaimin is traditional Muslim from PKB. And, Ganjar and Mahfud, Pak Mahfud is, from NU. And Pak Ganjar himself, a lot of people surrounding him are from NU as well. And when we talk about Prabowo and also Gibran, especially Prabowo, he has a very strong image of close to the Muslim as well.
Okay.
So it's not used any longer for using it for identity politics.
Yeah.
And also we haven't seen there's no candidate from minority religion, for instance, like in the case of Ahok.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not very much used. However, I must say that based on our research, which is now going on,
Yes.
actually some of the social media propaganda using identity politics are still conducted, practiced, but not so much. If you take a look at Twitter or Instagram, you will maybe find like a stigma based on identity, like one Abud, for instance, attached to Anies, right?
Okay.
And also some questions. In Indonesia we call it CLBK, Cinta Lama Bersemi Kembali.
Yeah.
Now we have HLBK, Hoax Lama Bersemi Kembali.
Okay.
All hoax are spread again.
Okay.
So that's the situation.
All right.
But I must say it's really not so much compared to 2019 as well as 2014. So yeah, I guess we should be relieved because of it. And then the last factor, Mbak. Last factor is because the time for official campaign is very short. It's only lasts for November, December, and January, and then election.
Yes.
Right? It's different with the previous election in which we have long time of campaign period, and I guess it has some to do. So that will be my take on why we haven't seen as many as the use of identity politics as previous elections.
All right. Interesting. Thank you
that's
so much.
quite a more positive outlook. Then.
Yeah.
I mean, at least we are going in
yeah.
the right direction of not using
Exactly.
Identity politics
Yeah,
in terms of garnering votes.
Exactly. But there was an interesting point about social media, actually, because a lot of people are saying social media has been used quite significantly in this election. And it is a tool, especially by the young voters, to empower them to participate more in this election. Now, how do you think the strategies between the three teams have benefited them? Obviously, team number 2 are very prominent in TikTok, I hear. There's a lot of TikTok presence from team number 2. Team number 1 also did a lot of TikTok lives at the end of the campaign. I don't know, maybe it was a bit too late, too little too late. But maybe Mas Kennedy, maybe you have more insights on this.
You are correct, Siska. We've been doing surveys on the social media use for campaigning. And we found that TikTok has surpassed Facebook as the main source of information regarding the election, especially for the youth voters. And we've seen the TikTok has been very effectively used by Pak Prabowo's campaign in this election, and which is why we've seen consistently see for the past half years the number of support for Pak Prabowo among the Gen Z or below the 22 years old, it's very high. It's above 60% even. And not to mention, once Gibran is becoming the running mate, it's also Gibran is seen by our Gen Z. This is Gen Z in general. I'm not saying just the urban Gen Z, but also the Gen Z in the
Indonesian
village. All
Gen
Indonesians,
Zs,
Gen Zs. So they see the representation of youth leader in Gibran, so which is why we see clearly in our polling data that once Gibran is becoming the running mate of Pak Prabowo, his support among the youth voters also shoot up significantly. And even though Pak Anies also exploit TikTok lately, but I think it's too late. But still, Pak Anies holds a strong appeal among the Gen Z who went to college. It's clear in our data.
Educated voters.
Educated.
And it's interesting, sister, because this year, we have a bonus demographic, especially for Indonesia. And as young voters make up for, lots of...
Can I add a little bit, Sonia?
Yes, please, Pak Wijayanto.
So I guess that's a very interesting question because today, all politicians will go online, right?
Yes.
Because if we see the figure of our voters, around 55% are from millennials and Gen Z, right? And they spend most of their times in the social media. And the survey from CSIS show that their main source of political information is from social media.
Yes.
Okay.
A week ago, The Economist wrote about this, wrote about the TikTok phenomena.
Okay.
And
As a
prominent
political tool.
That's right.
All right.
And also NRC, the biggest newspaper in the Netherlands, also wrote about it.
Oh, okay.
They happened to interview me.
All right.
And one of the prominent features is that Anies was dominant on Twitter,
Okay.
and Prabowo
that's right. Yeah.
was on TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah.
And because Gen Z is maybe the numbers more than the millennials,
Yeah.
so we see what we see today as a result.
Okay. They chose the wrong social media.
Could have strategized in that. And you know, Gen Zs are more vocal as well on their votes. And now, speaking about Gen Zs and people who are young voters living abroad, we also are joined by Irfan Fadila from the Netherlands Indonesian Election Overseas Committee Socialization Division. Hello, Irfan. How are you doing in Den Haag? And can you please tell us more about what is the current situation there in Den Haag for the 2024 elections?
Yeah. Hi, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chitra and Audrey. It's always nice to have an interview in this occasion. So yeah, apparently right now we have been completing the election day on the 10th of February actually, because the Netherlands as well as other regions in Europe is experiencing election in earlier days in comparison to in Indonesia. As of now, in the 14th of February, we're currently undergoing vote counting processes, which is currently underway. As I'm also having this interview, the voting is currently underway in the Indonesian embassy in The Hague.
Voting is currently underway.
Yeah.
And what has been the voter turnout been in Den Haag? Has it been more or less than what you expected in the first place?
The rate of participations in this year's elections has been, we have 4,379 voters who uses their voting rights in the polling stations in The Hague. I think it has a bit less participated in comparison to the last elections in 2019. However, for the final count of the whole election, we're still awaiting for the postal ballot, which it will be counted around 17th of February, which is on Saturday.
All right. Thank you so much, Irfan. Maybe last, before we let you go, you can tell us your hopes and wishes for this election in 2024. How would you like to see the next state leaders to represent you in the next administration?
Yeah, I think as one of the elections coordinator in the Netherlands, I think the fact that the election so far has been going very well, I think it symbolizes a really great hope for our great next leader. And I wish that all the democratic transition after this elections has been concluded could pave the way for a better government, and as well as a government that represents the will of the people, wherever the people or the populations is currently right now. So yeah, I think most of Indonesians as well are really excited to have their new leaders. And yeah, as the members of the electoral commissions or the representative of the electoral commissions, we're looking forward for the conclusions of the process and to have the elections process conducted peacefully, whether in Indonesia or in other polling stations across the world. I think that's
all right,
that's
Irfan Fadila.
my wishes.
Yes, thank you so much, Irfan Fadila. And of course, thank you for all your hard work in mobilizing the voters in Netherlands, in Den Haag. Very excited to have you. We wish you all the best. Pak Wijayanto, you were saying?
Thank you very much.
In a winter time like this.
In the winter time, exactly.
So freezing cold, yes.
Thank you so much, Irfan. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening as well.
Thank you. Well, that was a great insight, especially from Den Haag. And, you know, it's interesting to see how voters from diasporas, especially around the world, are also as excited. And when I was living in New York a couple of years ago and I voted, I remember just like excitement of going to the polling stations and would wait for hours just to go there, and that it's definitely a different situation than today. But what do you think, especially now? I would love to get insights from Mas Kennedy. What do you think is the during the surveys, have you surveyed on the diaspora, Indonesian diaspora, especially around the world, and their contribution to who are the biggest contenders or winners of this year's elections? Because there are plenty of Indonesian diasporas that are spread around many countries around the world, and their vote matters because you know each country always emphasizes to them that they have to use this right. Do you think that they have a big chance of giving a big impact, especially to the vote count?
Well, in terms of the vote share of our diaspora, it's almost 2 million, if I'm not mistaken. So it's 1% of the total electorate in Indonesia. We never do surveys abroad because it's very expensive to send people to do surveys in other countries. So
it would be nice to.
Yes. But usually the elections abroad is done like couple days or a week earlier, right? So it's sometimes it can give indication of the preference of the voters, but sometimes we have to admit what the information the diaspora gets, the media information that they receive is very different than the general electorate here. So it could be because we know that in the our diaspora they are usually more educated, right? So that's why the vote usually the voting pattern also sometimes different than our national vote share.
They have like a certain global perspective that gives them a different understanding, of how the world works. All right, that's very interesting. Now, I think maybe we can go into discussing the quick count results. But before that, I hear that you're also very interested to learn actually what quick count really is and how does it differ with other methodology of surveys, right? So maybe, Mas Kennedy, you can enlighten us now and tell us a little bit more about how is it done exactly, the quick count result? How is the sample taken? So we can actually learn more about the validity of the result.
Actually, every election we do two types of surveys. Not surveys. I mean, like one is exit poll, and the other is quick count. Exit poll is based on we interview people when they get out from the voting booth. So there is a certain rigid rules that we give our enumerator that at certain hour you must interview one people, and the gender also we set it just one male and one female. And for this election we do exit poll in 3,000 voting booths to 3,000 respondents also.
Across Indonesia.
Yeah, across Indonesia. It's we use the systematic random sampling to do the exit poll. The exit poll principle is like a survey. We ask for people's opinion, like once they got out from the voting booth, we ask them who do you voted for, and what's just like the survey questions, like how democratic, how free and fair this election is. What's your opinion on democracy? How satisfied are you with the current administration? It's like the survey questions we do. And what quick count is more based on the empirical recapitulation data from the KPU. So it's the actual voting results in every voting booth. So
you just ask who did you vote for, basically?
No, that's for exit poll. For quick count, it's different method, because we are jotting down the actual vote results of the that TPS or voting booth.
Each polling station.
Yeah, each polling station. And quick count usually have a higher accuracy, and for this election we do it in 3,000 polling station also, and the margin of error usually for quick count is below 1%. So it's very accurate.
Below 1%.
And we've been doing it for the past 5 elections since 2004. And it has been a proven methodology to predict the actual official KPU results.
So we can say that the quick count that we are looking at now on the screen probably has a little margin of error. And now we are joined by Anggun Lestari, who is at South Korea, Indonesian diaspora living in South Korea. Hello, Anggun. How are you doing? Can you please?
Yes.
Yes.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. From South Korea.
So first of all, how cold is it in South Korea? We've been hearing some extreme cold happening there. Are you okay? We just want to make sure that you're comfortable enough to have a conversation with us.
Yeah, it was so cold on January, but
Okay.
it turns that it's hotter now, actually.
Okay.
Especially today, it's almost like 14 degrees, so I'm
Ooh.
okay.
Okay, that's cold actually. Okay.
Well, in the midst of
Yeah.
the cold,
Yeah.
how has been the response been, especially from the Indonesian diaspora living in South Korea, towards the voting on the 2024 elections, Anggun?
I saw it's a quite a good response but I came on the booth section in the morning, so it's not that many people there, but I saw my friends coming on the afternoon and a lot of people coming on the afternoon rather than in the morning.
Okay. Now, could you tell us also about the demographics of voters that turn out in South Korea, especially in your polling station? Do you see a lot of young voters, students, or is it more Indonesian expats? Could you let us know more about that?
Yeah, like half of them, it's about students there, and half of them maybe Indonesian expat in Korea.
Half students and half expats.
Yeah, it's a mix actually.
It's a good mix. And how many polling stations are there? Is it just in the capital of South Korea, in Seoul, or also because they're in many parts of Korea as well?
It differs in many parts of Korea. As I know, we have like 29 booth stations.
29 booths. That's quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Anggun,
And we also have like a pause. We can ask the PPLN from the South Korea to send our suara by post.
all right. Now, Anggun, could you tell us, would this be your first election? Is this your first time voting?
No, it isn't my first time participating in general election, but it is my first time joining from abroad.
Oh, okay. So that must have been a very special experience. Maybe you can do like a comparison. How is it different?
Yeah.
Of course, it's different voting here in Indonesia than in abroad. But what would be the major highlights for you for this first-time experience of voting abroad?
That's interesting questions. As I grew older, living away from home gave me more sense of like belonging for Indonesia, and I feel more connected to the democratic process than ever before. And yeah, it's also quite interesting experience because being away from home, like we have to consider time difference, like on the debate sections previously in Indonesia, they have they have it at 7 p.m. Indonesian time, but in Korea it means like 9 p.m. in Korean time. So we have to consider time difference like that. And also being away from home means we are, as a student or expat in the Korea, turns out to be an informal ambassador for Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
So it's my friends will ask me what you're doing on the embassy, and I will tell them about Indonesia. So it was a unique way to promote our democratic values abroad.
Well, thank you so much, Anggun Lestari, joining us from South Korea. We do hope that you stay warm in the midst of the cold. And thank you for your insights. Have a great day. Thank you, Anggun.
감사합니다.
Thank you for having me. 감사합니다.
Okay, well, now from that, we also, after this, we'll have another news, which is we will have a live cross or LT from our TVRI World reporter. Yes, and
let's just check to make sure. There's a lot going on in our special program today, because as we understand, we want to show you all the excitement from today's election that is happening not just in Indonesia, but all across the world. So we're going to give you a glimpse of how exciting it is everywhere in Indonesia and across the world. While we make sure which one of our correspondents is showing up next, let us get back to our experts here in the studio. So I'm sure you will also share, our sentiments so far. It's been really heartwarming to hear all these positive feedbacks from the younger generation, from voters all around who are feeling very excited about being a part of the election, to be able to vote and so on. And actually, this might give us a glimpse of what makes the election in Indonesia special compared to other countries. It is the percentage of participation. We have a really high turnout, if I'm not mistaken, for election participation in Indonesia, like much higher than the US, for instance, or some European countries. Now, Batika, maybe you can give us more insights on that. Why do you think the people here are so committed to being a part of election, and they will actually go to great lengths to making it into a full celebration, to make it a full day of being, a rejoiceful citizen?
Yes, I think I agree that there is, kind of increasing participation of the citizen to really come to the ballots and give their votes. And I think it shows a good signs of enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm, and they really want to be part in the democratic process, and they want to also, participate in engaging in the electoral and democratic process. In that sense, I think, yes, it's a good sign, like I mentioned, and it shows that compared to the previous election, it shows that now, the political literacy among, kind of younger voters or even the general, citizen is increasing, and I think it become, a good sign for democracy, for the hopefully for the quality of our democracy. But yes, we already mentioned about the high penetration of internet among the young people, but we also need to more critical in how they use the social media. How they use the social media productively to really they get information for the political knowledge and also for showing their political preferences. In that sense, the use of social media should be beyond, kind of entertainment kind of purpose, but also showing their stand and engaging in the discussion in the public discourse about elections. I think that should be the next agenda. To increase the political literacy of the people, and then really make use of social media productively, not really spread the disinformation or hoax or something like that.
Yeah, what was it called again, Pak Wijayanto?
HLBK.
We don't want any of that.
No more.
Yeah, right.
And speaking about the high representation, especially the participation of the voters this year, it turns out there are also many methods in order to make people, especially young people, want to vote. So there are many ways to attract voters to come and cast their votes to ballot stations and make today more festive than ever, because as we said, this guy is Pesta Demokrasi.
Yes, exactly.
A party. And one way is by decorating poll stations as uniquely as possible with different themes. That's quite interesting.
Yes.
Well, now TVR World's Paramita from Paramita from Ketawang Gede, Malang, East Java, has the story. Why don't we take a look at this next, please?
We approved upon how passionate the Indonesians are when it comes to creativity, and it is proven by the presidential election day on 2024, which is also celebrating the Valentine's Day as well on February 14th. And right on this day, the voting organizing committee of Ketawang Gede, Malang, East Java, they decorate the voting area with the sense of Japanese cultural heritage. Voters voters will be greeted with a Sugeng Rawuh gate, or the welcome gate, when they arrived on the locations, and also with gamelan as well. The waiting room area filled with Japanese.
Okay, well, we have seen how they've decorated the polling stations.
Yes, very creative.
Yes.
Very localized to localize.
Yes. Localized to lure
people to come. Yeah.
Even local wisdom.
Yes,
make people really involved in the process as well.
I'm willing to vote there 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Go
back again.
It would be not valid.
I think it's interesting that to enhance the sense of belonging of the election itself by they're really being part of the process, and they are really involved in the process. And it can be, one strategy is to attract, the voters to come. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we also have to give credit to the volunteers working in those many polling stations, working really hard to make the whole process enjoyable, even sometimes wearing costumes for the whole day.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, it's truly a service, right?
Yes.
For the country and, for us. I mean, we are
for the voters as well. Okay, now we continue with another report about voting in Bali, which ended at 1 p.m. Central Indonesian time. Now, the voting organizer groups, or KPPS, are counting ballot papers, which is predicted to be completed by 10 p.m. tonight. TVRI World reporter Jayantri has more.
From polling station in Banjar Kertasari area, Pegoyakan Subdistrict North Denpasar, according to the data that we collected earlier, out of 1,690 voters at this poll station alone, 70% of them have casted their votes this morning. Temporary results show President and Vice President candidates number 2, Prabowo Subianto, Gibran Rakabuming won majority of the votes with 823, being compared to candidate number 1, Anies Caimin, with 20, and candidate number 3, Ganjar Mahfud, with 421 voters. And also, there is something unique to begin with this morning's voting day, where here all KPPS members consist of all women, and they all wore pink-colored attires as a way to lure voters to come to the ballot station and use their voting rights. Not only that, to make this morning's voting process more festive, KPPS members prepared door prizes like refrigerators and stoves, to even free flowers, knowing that the 2024 general election comes hand in hand with the Valentine's Day celebration. The voting process general in Bali have went smoothly as expected. And this is reporter Jayantari and camera person Made Adi reporting for TVRI's World Special Coverage on the 2024 general elections.
There you have it, Jayantari from the Island of Gods, Bali.
Yes.
Must be really nice to be able to vote in Bali. Can you imagine?
Warm, beachy vibes for this year's election. And, it's great to see how in many parts of Indonesia, there's such high turnout and also enthusiasm for this year's election. And one of the things that we mentioned before is especially the role of social media. And, we've seen a little bit of the quick count just now. How do you think social media has impacted the perceptions and mindset of people for this year's election? Now going to Dr. Wijayanto, especially now not only the young voters, the thing is, it's not only Gen Zs or millennials who use social media, but lots of Gen X and baby boomers who also mainly get the information from social media, and not only Instagram, Twitter, but I've also seen, Siska, lots of WhatsApp messages, broadcasts, which truly can affect the way people see a certain candidate.
You must have received quite a lot of WhatsApp messages from your aunties and uncles during this election.
A little bit more than I expected, but yes.
And don't forget about Facebook.
Yes, Facebook, for the baby boomers and
my generation still use it.
Same.
So I guess, yes, you're right. There are two sides of the coin, right? Of the social media. There are good news about it, and there are not so good news, not so happy news. The good news is that, yes, because of the social media, now everyone can participate in the public affairs, especially during the election like this, right? And also the other good thing about the social media is that the politicians are able to connect directly to the people in general. Can you imagine in 1980, for instance, there's no way that a commoner, people in general can talk directly to candidate of president, for instance. But now they can talk directly by posting in their social media, right? And also through WhatsApp, some candidates, make the WhatsApp available. That would be the good thing. And also the other good thing is that the candidates also become closer to the audience, to the public, right? They can, communicate better, and they can socialize their program better, and everyone have access to it.
Yes, exactly.
But the not so good things about social media is because first, it's something to do with span of attention, right?
Yes.
Now with the tsunami of information, so much there,
I know.
and I wonder. Actually, I think not so many, voters that really read the PDF, pages of PDF, the vision and mission of the candidates, right? But I believe that they watch the TikTok of, for instance, Prabowo or Anies, right, or Ganjar on social media, or on Instagram or in X, right? So that's also can easily trap us to I'm a bit theoretical here. The concept of politainment,
Politainment.
Yes. So it's politics, but it's treated like entertainment. So it's not so much about the vision and mission or track record of the candidates, but about how fascinating to see the candidates, right? How to
be connected,
and entertaining and funny,
right?
And and witty as well. That's why I guess some of the candidates really use it very effectively during the debates. Remember this gesture like this? This gesture that was. No, I guess it's intentionally.
It was a strategy.
Strategy that it will then become viral, and I guess it's successful. Which is good because everyone will engage to this and also happy with it. However, if we don't take a look at it more critically, then maybe we'll lose the substance of the campaign itself. Because theoretically, a campaign should consist of three things, Mbak Siska and Mbak Audrey. The first is, in a campaign, it's very important to address the problems of our democracy, of our economy, and so forth, right? And the second thing, it's very important to address the reason why we have such problems. So the candidates have to show or demonstrate the capability to analyze the problems, the roots of the problems, and the third, they will find the solution, right? The way to bring our nation to get out from the problems. For instance, the problem of democratic regression, for instance. First address it, and then we explain why we have it, and what's the solution. With the TikTok, with only like less than 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds, there's no way that we can assess. And based on that kind of content, maybe many of the voters decide. Right? So we don't want to be trapped in the shallow participation. So I guess that will be the homework for the future.
So not even like only scratching the surface, it's just like tickling the surface a little bit.
That's right. And I'm sorry that I talk about homework again because I'm a lecturer, right?
It's okay. We'll take it on.
Well, I think that is definitely what we need to learn more from.
All right, now before we continue our conversation, we'll now go to Qatar, to Doha, to talk with Prihandoko Saputro, the Indonesia Election Overseas Committee Socialization. Hello, good evening from Jakarta, Prihandoko.
Hello, good evening, everybody in Jakarta. Yes, we are here from Doha.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Prihandoko. Now, please tell us about how Election Day went on in Doha.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the election year for Qatar here is held on last Friday, on 9 of February. Because of the Friday here is the weekend, the holiday. That's why we need to have as much as possible as many as possible of our fellow citizens to participate in these elections. That's why we held the elections not today, but on last Friday. This is the election, and today is the fourth counting. Okay. But the fourth counting is today. It is on 14, so it's the same time with Indonesia.
Okay. Now, could you tell us more about the number of voters that turn out there for election day in Doha? How many people are listed in the DPT in Doha, Qatar?
Yes. In DPT, we have 7,325 people that register in DPT.
Yeah.
And then it's divided into 13 of TPS, or vote booth.
Okay.
And then we have also one mobile box, for this vote, and also one post. So total, there are 15 TPS for this here in Doha here. And today is the counting for the TPS itself, and then also the mobile box. But for the post, it will be tomorrow, because this is as per regulation from the KPU, that we have to count for the post is starting from 15. So today is for the TPS and also for the mobile boxes.
So it must be a busy day, Prihandoko, today, especially for everyone at the polling station for...
Yes. Yes, sure. Yeah, it's very busy day, especially also on the last 9 of February, and then today also. Although here we are, abroad, we have only 2 ballot paper, which is for the president, vice president, and also the House of Representatives. Not like in Indonesia. In Indonesia, we have 4 or 5 paper. And we feel here also we are very exhausted, and a lot of things to be done from the preparation last night, and then since morning, and now we are still on the process of the counting for this one. And then next we will have a recapitulation for this counting itself.
All right, so we don't want to keep you no longer, Prihandoko. It seems like you are very busy right now in the midst of counting the ballots. But first, let us thank you for all your hard work, with everyone in Doha, especially for the enthusiasm everybody showed on voting day. Thank you so much, Prihandoko, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was really exciting to see all the commotion happening
in the background,
right behind him as we speak. All right, now let's get back to our guest experts. Now, maybe we can go straight into talking about the quick count results. Now, everybody's talking about it. Social media is blowing up about the numbers we're seeing for the quick count. Maybe I just ask you straightforward, Mbak Atika, did you suspect these numbers?
Was it,
number 2 has been the front runner for quite some time now, but did you suspect that the win would be so substantial?
I think we can predict. The result maybe 2 weeks ago, and even the survey result also show the same trend. That the number 2 candidates become, the electability is quite high, and
and it's been climbing up, right?
Yes, right. Previously, it's 40%, and then more than 50%. I think so. We can really, not really surprised with the, with the election results for today's election. So we're just thinking that probably the surprising results is on the number 1 and number 3. It's quite interesting. Previously, we think that number 3 probably will be maybe in the second, second rank. But we can see that number 1 is really, for the 20 or 30% being in the second rank, and leave the third, the third candidate in the last rank. And I think it shows, kind of a dynamic in the ranking of the each candidate. And I think we can predict and make a suspect that you're the winner, and will be the same as the kind of the result of the survey.
Okay, Wijayanto, what about you?
I have to be honest.
Okay,
it's surprising for me.
Yes.
Yes.
How so?
Because I know that it's I can expect that the pairs number 2 will win it. Maybe they got 50%, but maybe 51 or something, or around that. That is 56, right?
Okay.
Some polls there's a different result, but it's around 55 or 56, right? So it's quite high. So you're right, it is quite substantial.
Yeah.
And I guess also the other surprising thing is how the number increased so fast in the very last minutes.
Exactly.
So the question then would be, what happens in the last minutes?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And
What
I
caused this momentum?
That's right. What caused this momentum?
Yeah.
So I guess it has something to do with what my colleagues have explained about the social assistance, the funding assistance, closing the election, and also there are great news about the recruitments of civil servants as well, right? And also other thing, there's an increase of bonus for civil servants, the Bawaslu, that's right, especially there. And there are a lot of good news. Another good news is that now the head of the local village, Kepala Desa, now 8 years to 2 periods.
Yes.
So before is I guess 4 or 6.
Yeah. Okay.
So of course those are great news.
Yeah.
But those great news come in a very specific moment of time.
Okay.
It's approaching the elections.
Yeah.
So I guess that will be another homework that we should, a lot of homework. We should work on, and not just work on for the next election, but also to anticipate, right?
Yes.
Because I guess it's too early to say that we have a peaceful election. We still have, because the result is not officially released by the Indonesian Electoral Commission. So only after that, maybe then we can say, oh, okay, we're successful. Yeah. Right? Because now everything is still going on. It's just like a few moments ago. So I guess some matters to be anticipated are very important to be taken into account.
Exactly. We haven't even had the quick count results for the legislative candidates. This is just the presidential and vice president.
Right. I think that's also important. Yeah.
I mean, still a long way to go, actually.
Yeah. To look at the composition of the, each
which
political
party will take the most seats.
Yes, right. Because it will, decide the composition in the parliamentary members.
Yes.
Who will be the, the dominant, power, or who will be the opponents probably, or the opposition.
Who will be the opposition? It will shape the dynamics of the parliament.
Yes. Will make the decision makers.
Yes.
As well for our country. And right now, I think we have on the quick count as well as the election results. That's what we've been discussing about. Yes. So what is actually a quick count? So Siska, as we've discussed about this, it's a statistics-based methodology in order to monitor election day development and project official election results. It has been in use in Indonesia, as Mas Kadandi mentioned, since the 2004 general elections. And this year, in particular, we will also see a number of surveyors hold quick count activities in comparison to the real count that is run by the General Elections Commission, or the KPU, a vote counting methodology recognized by the Indonesian election system. Let's take a brief look on what is a quick count.
Monitoring, in which a sample of polling stations is used to project the final election results before the official count is completed. This method is used to provide a quick estimate of the election outcome and to detect any irregularities or potential fraud. A quick count is the process of collecting information gathered by hundreds or thousands of volunteers. All information or data comes from the direct observation of the election process. Observers watch the electoral authorities as they administer the voting process and count the ballots. They record information including the actual vote count or standardized forms and communicate their findings to a central collection point. During a quick count, observers watch the voting and counting processes at specifically selected polling stations, record key information in standardized forms, and report their findings, including the polling station's vote count, to a central data collection center. Quick count leaders use this information to evaluate the overall quality of election day processes and to project or verify official election results based on precise analysis of polling station data. The history of quick count can be traced back to the 1980s when it was first used in the Philippines and later in other countries in Latin America and Africa. It has since become a widely used election monitoring tool in many countries around the world. In Indonesia, it has been used as comparison to the real count mechanism imposed by the official Indonesian election organizer, the General Elections Commission. When sponsored by non-partisan civic organizations, quick counts can help to empower citizens' election participation. A quick count allows citizens to exercise their rights to participate in governmental affairs, to seek and impart information about critical aspects of the election process, and hold officials or political leaders accountable for election misconduct. When quick counts help to validate a legitimate process, citizens can feel confident in the election result and in the legitimacy of the resulting government. In addition, quick count helps build local capacity, as quick count leaders and volunteer observers will become very well versed in election law and procedures. It will also help them build skills in election budget management, communications, and organization. Lastly, quick count provides reliable and comprehensive information as it involves thousands of observers who are trained and well suited to guarantee broad election day coverage, be assigned to polling stations near their homes where they know the area well and can identify and respond effectively to problematic situations. Domestic observers are also well positioned to provide necessary follow-up to prolonged vote counting, tabulating, or complaint procedures.
That was a brief background on what is the quick count system and methodology that has been used for many elections in Indonesia. And now we have on the screen a current quick count. And as we can see, Siska, there's about 94% that the votes have been taken from all over Indonesia. Well, now, Mas Kennedy, from looking at the quick count from a survey perspective, first, is this what you anticipated, as we've asked other experts before? And we can see that there is still about 6, probably 7% that have the votes that have not been counted. How much of a difference can those votes make to the current quick count?
Yes, if we see in our data, the incoming data is at 88%, so there is only 12% left. But if you look at the distribution of votes that's coming in, it's already very equally distributed. So the stability of the votes is already like very stable right now. So it's safe to say we can declare that this election has been concluded in one round, because the vote share is already very stable and it's way above 50%. That's the requirement for a one-round election.
Okay, so we've heard it from you, Mas Kennedy, the Chief Researcher of Surveyor Indikator Politik. As it seems now, we have a one-round election, and
yes, but this is not an official KPU result.
Of course, based on the quick count result. Now, maybe as you are the Chief Researcher at Surveyor Indikator Politik, whose quick count result is one of the ones we're seeing around on screen as well, could you give us a little bit more insights about these numbers that we're seeing? For instance, like when you say this is going to be most likely a one-round election, that means not only that candidate number 2 has garnered more than 50% of the vote, but also it is spread around 20 more provinces?
Yes, automatically, if we see at the current quick count data that's coming in from many provinces, and almost all province, the incoming data is above 70% already. And the data shows that candidate Prabowo Gibran only lose in 3 provinces so far.
Which provinces are those, Mas Kennedy?
Those are Aceh, Sumatra Barat, Aceh, West Sumatra, and Papua Pegunungan. It's
okay, interesting. So one new province in Papua has not gone to Prabowo in Gibran.
Is there a particular region that it is the votes are mostly concentrated on?
Yeah, in Sumatra, if we see Aceh goes to Pak Anies, very dominant.
Yes.
Pak Anies is at 84.6%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Prabowo only gets around 13.8%.
Okay.
And also in West Sumatra, Pak Anies also wins by 57% against 38%. But the rest, Pak Prabowo gets more than 50% of the
I guess we can say it's a clean sweep across Indonesia.
Yeah, you can say. And what's interesting here is like, in DKI, we still cannot declare who is the winner because the margin is too small between Pak Anies and Pak Prabowo. So DKI might be a toss-up at this point.
Okay.
But what's interesting is in Jateng, which is it's supposed to be the
base camp for Ganjar.
It's a PDIP stronghold and Ganjar stronghold also. But we've seen in the data that's coming in so far that candidate number 2, Pak Prabowo Gibran, of course with the influence of President Jokowi there, who is very popular in his own province.
Yeah.
Pak Prabowo gets 53% against 34%. That's quite a big margin.
To follow up on Mbak Atika's statement before, I think the most interesting thing about this election, not that Prabowo Gibran is the winner based on the quick count result, but how little votes candidate number 3, Ganjar Pranowo, has gotten so far. I mean, it is below expectation for sure, and it is a big blow for PDIP, I'm sure, especially that you mentioned the stronghold Jawa Tengah, Central Java, has gone to Prabowo Gibran. What do you think that is? Do you have any more data to
Yes, we've seen this trend happening for quite some times. For the past month, in our latest survey, Pak Prabowo already surpassed Ganjar by 5% in our survey up until early February. So, as Pak Wijayanto already mentioned, there's President Jokowi's maneuvers in the past months in Central Java that's really changing the situation there. Like, especially it's really hurting Pak Ganjar. Because Pak Ganjar used to share the same pool of voters that the support comes from also the same pool of voters with President Jokowi. And once President Jokowi shifted his support to Pak Prabowo, and Ganjar is like in a constant decline, and we've seen the number at our screen right now.
And not just Central Java, if I'm not mistaken, even in Bali, really stronghold for PDIP has also gone to Prabowo Gibran. So the least we can say for PDIP, there's a lot of soul searching that is going on right now.
Lots of homework.
There's homework, but on the other hand, for team number 2, Prabowo Gibran, there's a lot of celebrating right now, right?
That's true, yes. And indeed, Siska, right now we have visual. We just heard we have visual from Istora Senayan in which the pair, Prabowo Subianto as well as Gibran Rakabuming Raka, is there. And we can see the visuals of them giving a statement really soon about the results of the quick count of the 2024 elections, and we can see both of them on stage. Siska, it seems like the ambience is quite lively.
Maybe we can have a listen on what they're saying right now. Let's have a listen.
Sekjen Partai PAN, Edi Suparno, tokoh-tokoh semua yang hadir di sini, Pak Rafli Harun, kemudian minta maaf ya. Pak Deddy Corbusier. Ya. Topimu buka topi. Biar silau. Biar silau. Pak Otto Hasibuan hadir. Dan Pak Hashim Joyo Hadikusumo. Saudara-saudara, izinkan saya menyampaikan sepatah dua kata. Pada hari ini kita bersyukur seluruh bangsa Indonesia di seluruh tanah air. Maaf, saya tadi juga ada Pak Aksa Mahmud hadir di sini juga. Minta maaf Pak Aksa. Ya. Saudara-saudara, hari ini seluruh rakyat Indonesia di seluruh wilayah tanah air kita dan saudara-saudara kita yang di luar negeri sudah terlebih dahulu melaksanakan tugas konstitusi kita, tugas sebagai warga negara, yaitu kita melaksanakan menjalankan kedaulatan rakyat. Kita memilih pemimpin-pemimpin kita, wakil-wakil kita. Kita memilih Presiden dan Wakil Presiden Republik Indonesia. Dan kita memilih wakil-wakil kita di DPR Provinsi, Kabupaten Kota, dan juga Dewan Perwakilan Daerah. Kita bersyukur yang diakui sebagai pemilihan umum terbesar di dunia. Kita laksanakan dengan aman, dengan tertib, dengan sejuk, dengan tidak ada ketegangan dan kekisruan di seluruh wilayah Nusantara yang kita cintai ini. Untuk itu, atas nama tim kampanye nasional Prabowo Gibran dan atas nama Koalisi Indonesia Maju, saya ingin menyampaikan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya kepada Komisi Pemilihan Umum dan seluruh jajarannya dan seluruh tingkatan termasuk Bawaslu, DKPP yang telah menyelenggarakan pemilihan umum yang terbesar di dunia dengan keadaan lancar dan sukses. Kita melihat rakyat di seluruh pelosok tanah air datang berbondong-bondong ke TPS melaksanakan pemilihan umum dengan riang, dengan tenang, dengan suasana kekeluargaan dan dengan penuh kedamaian. Saudara-saudara sekalian, atas nama tim Prabowo Gibran dan atas nama Koalisi Indonesia Maju, kita bersyukur atas hasil penghitungan cepat yang sudah ada. Semua penghitungan, semua lembaga survei, termasuk lembaga-lembaga yang berada di pihak-pihak paslon lain, menunjukkan angka-angka yang memang paslon Prabowo Gibran menang sekali putaran. saya bersama Mas Gibran berpesan, menyampaikan, walaupun kita bersyukur, kita tidak boleh sombong. Kita tidak boleh jumawa. Kita tidak boleh euforia. Kita tetap harus rendah hati. Kemenangan ini harus menjadi kemenangan untuk seluruh rakyat Indonesia. Prabowo, Gibran, dan seluruh koalisi Indonesia Maju, kami akan merangkul semua unsur dan semua kekuatan. Kami akan menjadi presiden, wakil presiden, dan pemerintah untuk seluruh rakyat Indonesia. Berkali-kali saya tegaskan, saya akan memimpin bersama Saudara Gibran, akan mengayomi, akan melindungi, akan membela seluruh rakyat Indonesia. Apapun sukunya, apapun kelompok etnisnya, apapun rasnya, apapun agamanya, apapun latar belakang sosialnya, seluruh rakyat Indonesia akan menjadi tanggung jawab kami untuk menjaga kepentingannya. Kami akan menyusun tim pemerintahan yang terdiri dari putra-putri terbaik bangsa Indonesia. Saudara-saudara sekalian, kita harus tetap tunggu hasil resmi KPU. Kita yakin demokrasi Indonesia berjalan dengan baik, saudara-saudara sekalian. Saudara-saudara sekalian, rakyat yang menentukan, rakyat yang memutuskan, rakyat berhak untuk mendapat pemimpin yang dikehendaki oleh rakyat Indonesia. Dalam beberapa minggu ini, dalam beberapa bulan yang lalu, Mas Gibran dan saya dengan tokoh-tokoh yang dukung kita, kita telah menjelajahi seluruh Indonesia. Memang kami bagi tugas, ada tempat yang kami tidak bisa sampai, Mas Gibran sampai. Ada juga yang dikerjakan oleh Mas Agus Gumiwang, ada yang oleh Pak Zulkifli Hasan, ada juga oleh Mas Agus Harimurti. Bahkan Presiden SBY pun turun dari gunung. Saya kaget waktu di GBK, Presiden Indonesia, Republik Indonesia, SBY, Presiden ke-6, jalan kaki 7 kilometer jalan kaki. Luar biasa penghormatan. Saudara-saudara sekalian, dengan dukungan rakyat, dengan suara rakyat yang sudah diberikan, mari kita menghadap ke depan. melihat ke depan. Saudara-saudara, bangsa yang hebat selalu melihat ke depan. Menyongsong masa depan, saudara sekalian. Kita laksanakan kampanye memang dengan semangat. Memang dengan kadang-kadang kata-kata yang keras. Itu namanya kampanye. Sekarang kampanye telah selesai. Kita harus bersatu kembali, saudara sekalian. Saya mengajak, mari kita lupakan kata-kata yang kasar. Di antara saudara, bertengkar itu biasa. Tapi bertengkar jangan menjadi perpecahan yang lama-lama, saudara-saudara sekalian. Di seluruh tempat yang kami datangi, rakyat selalu mengatakan rakyat ingin kerukunan di antara pemimpin-pemimpinnya. Rakyat ingin kesejukan. Bangsa Indonesia, adat kami, tradisi kami, ajaran orang tua kami adalah tidak mencari permusuhan, tapi kita mencari kekeluargaan, persaudaraan. Ini adat, ini budaya kita. Rakyat Indonesia tidak suka saling menjelek-jelekan. Tidak suka saling menghujat. Ajaran orang tua kami, nenek moyang kami adalah mikul dhuwur mendem jero. Yang bukan orang Jawa artinya mengangkat yang baik dan meninggalkan atau memendam yang kurang baik. Saudara-saudara, berkali-kali saya selalu mengajak, mari saudara-saudara sekalian, mari sebagai bangsa yang bermartabat, sebagai bangsa yang dewasa, sekarang sebagai bangsa yang menjadi panutan bangsa-bangsa lain. Saudara-saudara, mari kita bersyukur, mari kita berterima kasih kepada pendiri-pendiri bangsa kita. Mari kita berterima kasih kepada presiden-presiden yang kita miliki selama ini. Presiden Soekarno, presiden pertama, berjasa besar. Presiden Soeharto, presiden kedua, berjasa besar. Presiden ketiga, Presiden Habibie, berjasa juga. Presiden Abdurrahman Wahid berjasa, semua berjasa. Presiden Megawati berjasa bagi bangsa. Presiden SBY berjasa bagi kita. Presiden Joko Widodo berjasa bagi Indonesia.
Based on the quick count results, they are the winner of the 2024 general election for president and vice president. Although it is not yet official, of course, we still need to wait from the official count from the KPU. And for that, we're now going to go to the KPU actually to hear a press statement delivered by the KPU. Let's have a look.
Situasi penyelenggaraan pemilu 2024. Saudara sekalian, sebagaimana kita ketahui, hari ini hari Rabu, tanggal 14 Februari 2024 adalah tahapan untuk menyelenggarakan kegiatan pemungutan penghitungan suara pemilu 2024 di TPS di dalam negeri. Pada kesempatan ini, yang pertama kami ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh rakyat Indonesia, para pemilih yang telah berpartisipasi aktif hadir di dalam kegiatan pemungutan suara di TPS-nya masing-masing dan juga masih setia, kami juga monitor untuk menunggu dan juga mencermati, mendokumentasikan kegiatan penghitungan suara di TPS-TPS yang sampai sekarang masih berlangsung. Kami juga mengucapkan terima kasih kepada peserta pemilu, baik pasangan calon presiden, wakil presiden, partai politik, perseorangan calon DPD, yang menjadi peserta pemilu pada pemilu 2024 ini. Kami juga mengucapkan terima kasih kepada pemerintah, baik pemerintah pusat, pemerintah daerah, Panglima TNI, Kapolri, beserta jajarannya yang telah memberikan dukungan dan fasilitasi untuk penyelenggaraan pemungutan penghitungan suara. Tentu saja semua dukungan, bantuan, dan fasilitasi itu tiada lain dan tiada bukan, sama-sama dalam rangka untuk melayani pemilih untuk dapat menggunakan hak pilih pada hari ini Rabu 14 Februari 2024. Pada kesempatan ini kami juga mengucapkan terima kasih, apresiasi dan rasa hormat kami kepada teman-teman penyelenggara pemilu di lapangan, teman-teman KPU Provinsi beserta jajaran sekretariat, teman-teman KPU Kabupaten Kota beserta jajaran sekretariat, teman-teman PPK di tingkat kecamatan, PPS di tingkat desa kelurahan, dan terutama kepada teman-teman penyelenggara di TPS, yaitu para anggota KPPS yang telah bekerja keras, bekerja maksimal sesuai dengan kemampuannya masing-masing untuk memberikan layanan yang paling baik kepada pemilih pada pemilu 2024 ini. Sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih, rasa hormat kami kepada teman-teman KPPS terutama. Pada kesempatan ini, ada beberapa hal yang ingin kami sampaikan. Yang pertama soal logistik pemilu 2024. Di antaranya adalah, sebagaimana juga sudah diketahui oleh teman-teman semua, pada hari Senin tanggal 12 Februari 2024 telah terjadi pengrusakan alat perlengkapan pemungutan dan penghitungan suara pada 92 TPS di Kabupaten Paniai, Provinsi Papua Tengah. Yang berikutnya, berdasarkan laporan dan hasil pencermatan sampai dengan hari ini tanggal 14 Februari 2024 jam 18 WIB tadi, terdapat permasalahan surat suara tertukar yang terjadi di 388 TPS, 388 TPS tersebar pada 79 kabupaten kota pada 26 provinsi. Namun demikian permasalahan tersebut begitu diidentifikasi segera dilakukan langkah-langkah strategis untuk diselesaikan atau dituntaskan oleh para petugas KPPS dan juga PPS di tingkat desa kelurahan, sehingga pemungutan suara dapat berjalan kembali. Yang kedua, sebagaimana juga sudah kita ketahui di sejumlah tempat, karena memang ini musimnya musim penghujan, curah hujannya juga tinggi beberapa waktu yang lalu, dan hari ini juga di beberapa tempat seperti di Jakarta terutama juga diguyur hujan yang cukup deras sejak dini hari tadi. Di beberapa tempat terjadi banjir dan kemudian tanggulnya jebol yang kemudian mengakibatkan sejumlah tempat tergenang air yang sudah beberapa hari sebelum hari pemungutan suara sudah bisa kita ketahui kemungkinan untuk dilaksanakannya pemungutan suara serentak di daerah-daerah tersebut belum bisa dilaksanakan. Sehingga kemudian oleh KPU Kabupaten Kota yang kebetulan ada kejadian itu diambil keputusan untuk dilakukan penundaan pemungutan suara di TPS-TPS tersebut dan akan dilaksanakan pemungutan suara ulang atau pemungutan suara atau pemilu susulan dalam waktu yang nanti akan ditentukan karena situasinya memang belum memungkinkan. Di dalam peraturan KPU nomor 25/2023 tentang pemungutan dan penghitungan suara di TPS, pasal 110 ayat 1, yang ini juga merujuk di Undang-Undang Pemilu nomor 7 2017, ditentukan bahwa dalam hal pada sebagian atau seluruh dapil terjadi A. kerusuhan, B. gangguan keamanan, C. bencana alam, dan atau D. gangguan lainnya, yang mengakibatkan seluruh tahapan pemungutan suara dan atau penghitungan suara tidak dapat dilaksanakan, maka dilakukan pemungutan suara dan atau penghitungan suara susulan. Berdasarkan laporan yang kami terima, monitoring sepanjang waktu beberapa hari terakhir, terutama sampai dengan hari ini 14 Februari 2024, pada jam 18 WIB, terdapat 668 TPS, saya ulangi lagi, 668 TPS di 5 kabupaten kota pada 4 provinsi yang berpotensi dilakukan pemungutan suara susulan. Yang pertama adalah Kabupaten Demak, Jawa Tengah, itu terdapat 108 TPS karena ada banjir dan masih menggenangi 10 desa di Kabupaten Demak. Yang kedua, Kota Batam, Provinsi Kepulauan Riau, ada 8 TPS karena kekurangan surat suara. Kemudian yang ketiga, Kabupaten Paniai, Papua Tengah, 92 TPS, dan Kabupaten Puncak Jaya, 456 TPS, 456 TPS, dua-duanya, baik Paniai maupun Puncak Jaya, ada di Provinsi Papua Tengah. Kemudian yang kelima adalah Kabupaten Jayawijaya, Provinsi Papua Pegunungan, ada 4 TPS karena gangguan keamanan. Jadi totalnya tadi ada 668 TPS di 5 kabupaten kota yang tersebar di 4 provinsi, yaitu Jawa Tengah, Kepri, Papua Tengah, dan Papua Pegunungan. Yang ketiga, saudara sekalian, soal kehadiran pemilih. Antusiasme para pemilih, sebagaimana terlihat kehadiran para pemilih di tempat-tempat pemungutan suara atau TPS di wilayahnya masing-masing, mulai jam 7 pagi sampai dengan ditutupnya TPS jam 13 waktu setempat, terlihat antusias, dan juga laporan dari teman-teman KPU Kabupaten Kota juga demikian. Termasuk kalau kita lihat pemungutan suara beberapa waktu yang lalu yang melalui metode TPS LN di luar negeri. Yang keempat adalah sistem informasi rekapitulasi penghitungan suara atau Sirekap. Proses rekapitulasi hasil penghitungan suara pada pemilu 2024 ini menggunakan alat bantu Sirekap, sistem informasi rekapitulasi suara elektronik, dengan menggunakan data dan gambar dari dokumen formulir C hasil plano yang difoto dan diunggah oleh KPPS baik secara online maupun offline, dan proses rekapitulasi secara berjenjang dari PPK tingkat kecamatan dan PPLN sampai dengan tingkat berikutnya KPU Kabupaten Kota, Provinsi, dan di tingkat pusat atau di tingkat nasional oleh KPU Pusat nanti. Setelah beberapa jam pemungutan suara ditutup dan mulai dilakukan penghitungan suara, berdasarkan laporan tadi 18.45 WIB malam ini, KPPS telah mengirimkan data melalui Sirekap sejumlah 46.574 TPS, 46574 TPS atau sekitar 5,65% untuk hasil penghitungan suara pemilu di dalam negeri maupun di luar negeri. Saat ini pengiriman itu masih berlangsung, dan sampai pada saat ini kami berbicara di depan teman-teman jurnalis, menurut data per jam 19 WIB malam ini sudah ada 59.836 TPS yang mengunggah atau sekitar 7,27%. Tentu saja walaupun kegiatan pemungutan suara sudah selesai, tapi sekarang ini masih kegiatan penghitungan suara, dan nanti akan dilanjutkan rekapitulasi di tingkat kecamatan. Kami tetap berusaha untuk menjaga diri, bekerja dengan profesional, menjaga integritas, dan berusaha bekerja secermat mungkin supaya kemudian kita tetap dapat akuntabel dan proses-proses penghitungan suara transparan. Saya kira teman-teman juga mengikuti di berbagai media sosial, terutama yang saya dan teman-teman para anggota KPU mengikuti, misalkan di aplikasi TikTok kan kelihatan sekali banyak warga yang kemudian hadir dan mendokumentasikan secara live proses-proses penghitungan suara di TPS. Saya kira ini sangat membantu karena dengan begitu originalitas atau keaslian hasil penghitungan suara di TPS-TPS banyak yang mendokumentasikan. Kalau ada sesuatu yang kira-kira dianggap ada kesalahan dan perlu dikoreksi, atau kalau ada misalkan indikasi-indikasi manipulasi, itu data pembandingnya bisa dilacak, bisa ditemukan oleh berbagai macam pihak, termasuk semua saksi nanti juga akan diberikan salinan formulir C hasil penghitungan suara di TPS, dan juga sebagaimana yang sudah dan akan terus diunggah di Sirekap, yang itu hasil foto formulir C hasil penghitungan suara berbentuk plano, itu juga bisa diakses oleh siapa saja dan bisa didownload oleh siapa saja yang mengakses informasi tersebut. Saya kira demikian informasi perkembangan mutakhir berkaitan dengan kegiatan puncak pemilu 2024, yaitu pemungutan suara dan penghitungan suara di TPS untuk pemilu 2024 yang dilaksanakan pada hari ini, Rabu 14 Februari 2024. Saya kira demikian yang dapat kami sampaikan. Setelah ini nanti teman-teman bisa memboyong kameranya masing-masing, nanti kita melihat ruangan publikasi Sirekap, supaya kemudian kita sama-sama mengetahui perkembangan mutakhir, proses rekam dan juga proses unggah dan juga proses publikasi hasil penghitungan suara di TPS. Demikian yang dapat kami sampaikan. Pada kesempatan berikutnya nanti kita akan update, akan kita mutakhirkan lagi perkembangan kegiatan penghitungan suara dan juga kegiatan rekapitulasi penghitungan suara. Teman-teman PPLN di 128 PPLN di luar negeri sekarang ini sedang bekerja untuk kegiatan penghitungan suara untuk berbagai macam metode, yaitu metode TPS dan metode KSK yang dilakukan bersamaan dengan waktu penghitungan suara di dalam negeri, yaitu tanggal 14 dan 15 Februari 2024. Untuk metode POS, diagendakan penghitungan suaranya untuk pemilu di luar negeri oleh teman-teman KPPSLN POS dan juga oleh PPLN, itu adalah tanggal 15 sampai dengan tanggal 22 Februari 2024 ini. Saya kira itu yang dapat kami sampaikan. Terima kasih atas perhatian dan liputan teman-teman sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Cukup ya.
So there we have Hashim Ashari, the chief of KPU, giving us a recap of the election process today, from the election itself, the voting process, and also the ballot counting, which is still happening right now. So, of course, we give out our appreciation for all the volunteers and the officials working tirelessly at so many polling stations around Indonesia.
Yes, and on that note, one of the things that he mentioned is how there are some force majeures that occurred today, especially in 668 polling sessions, and even having potential for postponement of those voting. And now going to Mas Kennedy, before your closing remarks, how much of a percentage do you think that would contribute to the quick vote that is on the screen now with almost 668, almost 700 polling stations that might be postponed for another day of elections, in which that will have to take another round of their votes? Do you think that will, have a little nudge to the current?
Will it make any dent whatsoever?
No, I don't think it will make any dent. But our election commission has a deadline to count the votes, the real votes, until March 20. That's the final deadline for announcing the vote results. So that's the deadline we have.
All right. Now, Mas Kennedy, before you leave, we would love to get like a closing statement, a recap from you, sort of to say your take of all that has happened today with the quick count result and the election process.
Yes, I think I have to summarize again the quick count results with 91% of the data coming in. Like, it's a very conclusive data that we've seen so far based on the quick count. Again, this is not a KPU official election results. And we can conclude that the election will be held in only one round based on the quick count results, because Prabowo and Gibran had a very commanding lead above 50%, like around 57.8% at this moment, against Pak Anies at the second place at 25% and Pak Ganjar Mahfud at 16.5%. Let's hope the election will proceed calmly and there is not many dispute, because as the third largest democracy, a peaceful election and peaceful transition of power is also important, despite many notes that Pak Wijayanto has already laid out. And this is our homework together, how to improve democratic process going forward.
We're still on the journey of becoming a better democracy, for sure. All right. Mas Kennedy Muslim, thank you so much once again for your time and your insights. As Chief Researcher, Surveyor, Indikator Politik Indonesia, we are truly fortunate to have your time and your expertise here with us on this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Siska. Thank you, Audrey.
Okay, now we have seen and heard about quick counts, and we can also look at the results on the screen. So terms such as quick count, real count, and exit poll are so popular during the general elections, especially in presidential elections. But not everyone knows what they are all about. Here below are the differences between them and how the vote counting process is carried out. Let's take a look.
Real count yang kami pantau dari website KPU.
Hasil hitung cepat pemilu presiden 2019 dari
ini adalah hasil dari exit poll Litbang Kompas yang dilaksanakan kemarin.
Mari kita lihat bersama lingkaran survei Indonesia.
Quick count is a quick calculation of election results. According to the General Election Commission KPU regulations, a quick count is an election counting methodology that is carried out by survey organizations based on a representative random sample of polling stations. To gain legitimacy in carrying out fast counting activities, survey institutions which will carry out a quick count are required to fulfill the requirements stipulated in the regulation issued by the General Election Commission, or PKPU. Organizations involved in a quick count are regulated under Article 448 of Law No. 7 of 2017 concerning general elections. The quick count is part of the public participation in the elections as stipulated in the law. Quick count has high accuracy because it calculates election results directly from the target polling station, not based on the perception of respondents. The purpose of a quick count of election results is to provide the public or interested parties a comparative data that can be used to detect possible fraud that may occur during the vote tabulation process. With a quick count, election results can be known quickly on the same day the election is held. The quick count results are much faster than the official results issued by the KPU, which takes around 2 weeks to be published. If about 70% of the votes have been calculated, even though it is only a prediction, survey institutions generally have the courage to conclude the winner. Unlike a quick count, a real count is a real calculation of election results. A real count is a real vote counting based on vote results obtained from all polling stations. The real counting method is carried out by the KPU through KPPS officials at the polling stations and then reported to higher election committees. Like in the past presidential and legislative elections as well as regional head elections, the public can monitor the provisional results of the real count through the official website of the KPU. If all the votes have been counted, then the real count results are used as the basis for deciding the winner. However, it will take at least 2 weeks to know the final result of the elections. Exit poll is a poll taken on a small percentage of voters as they leave the polls, used to forecast the outcome of an election or determine the reasons for voting decisions. The exit poll is used as an instrument to determine trends in voter behavior patterns. The exit poll is carried out while the election or voting process at the polling station is still ongoing, and once the vote counting at the TPS is about to be carried out, the exit poll has been completed. The poll is carried out on voters who have just finished to cast a ballot. The results of the exit poll and quick count are usually published simultaneously in the media or televisions to provide predictions to the public about the potential winners of the elections.
Right, that was pretty educational. We learned a lot about different methodologies and how quick count really works. Now let's continue our class, Audrey, with our expert guest here in the studio, Mbak Atika and Pak Wijayanto. Maybe we can discuss a little bit about the speech we saw before from Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Raka Buming Raka standing there beside him. I would love to get your take on it. What was your initial reaction when you saw him standing there and saying all the things he said concerning about his quick count result win?
Yeah, I think it's kind of expression of Pak Prabowo to, to actually make an early declaration that he win the quick count.
Okay.
Yeah, to some extent, when he mentioned about what his intention to form the cabinet, I think it's too early in these situations. Because making the form the cabinet, we need to consider a lot of things. Kind of the result of the legislative. Election also need to be considered. So in that sense, probably at this time, probably Prabowo and Gibran should probably more calm in kind of really expressing kind of the excitement.
Yes,
pull back a little.
That's why, and try to to wait for the official result of the elections. And it shows that when Gibran standing beside Pak Prabowo, it shows his support of the with Prabowo, and it shows that how I think I remember that when Gibran said that become Pak Prabowo, I'm here.
At the first declaration,
that's why
their candidacy.
I remember that. It's just that we can reconcile. Rethink again about that his statement that he stand there to really prove that I'm here and I was helping Pak Prabowo in his position now.
Okay. Pak Wijayanto, maybe we can a little bit understand the overexcitement that Prabowo Subianto has on this very special occasion for him. This is third time the charm, actually fourth time if you also count the one in 2004. And now finally, although not official yet, but it's within his grasp. Now, what do you think of this moment in Indonesia's political history?
Yeah, Mbak Siska. So first I would like to analyze, I guess, the contents of the message Pak Prabowo delivered. I guess there are three kind of messages. First, he's expressing euphoria, I guess, a little bit euphoria about the winning, right? And confirming the results of the,
quick count,
quick counts. And second, he already say thanks to all of the supporters, everyone. He mentioned everyone. And the third, then he maybe because of euphoria, he already talked about, forming the cabinet, which is, I guess, too early. However, it's good that then maybe he realized that it's too early. Then he said that, of course, we have to wait for, right? I feel relieved actually when he finally said that, of course, we have to wait for the official announcement. And I have to also appreciate, I guess, when he mentioned about if this result, I will be the president for everyone. So we have to be together again. Yesterday was just a campaign. Now we understand it. It's like saying that, yesterday was firstful, but now we have to be together again. I guess that would be the highlight, I guess. That's I want to highlight that part because actually election is a peaceful method for the transition of power in democracy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
In another, in the old time, for instance, in kingdom, we there were bloodshed, something like that. But in democracy, election is the peaceful transition for power.
Yeah.
And I guess there's ethics for those who win, also for those who are lost. Right? And for win, I guess they must be humble enough not too early to declare, because it's also Indonesia. Even in Western country, we have to wait until it becomes official. And when it's official, those who lost have to accept it, right? Of course, there are actually some procedure. Our law, our constitution regulate about it. If there are some, for instance, dissenting opinion or protest, and also there's a peaceful way by the legal our constitution to also ask or maybe protest the result. But what I would like to emphasize is that the peaceful, it's peaceful transition of power, and I guess that would be something to hold in mind for those who win and lost, and also the followers, of course, the supporters. That's the most important thing. And I guess the Prabowo gesture overall is a good message, a good gesture for the supporters, and I guess.
The message of unity.
That's right.
Putting aside political differences. That's the point of democracy, right? Having different political choices.
Yes, and I think it is also quite a critical time, right, to see how they will emerge if they become a leader. Because we need to see, like winners and losers. We have to see them in both situations, right? And that it really shows the true colors of the leaders. And now we are also joined on Zoom by Zaki Hudzaifi Mahmud from Indonesian Election Overseas Committee in Paramaribo, Suriname. Hello, Zaki. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Hello, good morning. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for inviting me to this occasion.
Yes, of course, it's our pleasure, Zaki. So we would love to know more about how the election went down in Paramaribo.
So the election actually started pretty early. We started on the 4th of February, and it lasted about 7 days until 11th of February. So the first election that we held was for KSK, the Kotak Suara Keliling. It was held for all the Indonesian citizens around Paramaribo, the capital city of Suriname, because mostly our citizens here are seamen and also workers in the logging factory. And as of now, we also held another election, KSK 02. It was held in Guyana. It was held for 2 days. The committees there, they had to travel hundreds of kilometers to get to the voters to get the election going on. And finally, on the 11th of February, we held our main event, the election at the Embassy of Indonesia in Suriname in Paramaribo. We held it since 8 a.m. from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We had about approximately 140.
And it seems like there's a string of events that have happened, especially for the elections in Suriname. And Zaki, can you tell us more? How has the general mood and enthusiasm been?
Okay, I think we are having some connection issues with Zaki from Paramaribo, although we would love to learn more about the diaspora. I think we just heard Zaki again. Zaki, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Is the connection okay?
All right, yes, the connection is fine. So please continue, tell us more probably about the Indonesian diaspora, like exactly how many people are listed in the DPT, how many TPS do you have there?
Yes, so we have one TPS actually, and 2 KSK. Yes, we don't have any method of mailing since it's difficult for us to get an accountable mail service here in Paramaribo and Guyana.
Okay.
And for the DPP, we have 648 voters.
All right. So it's interesting to learn about this challenge in terms of infrastructure in conducting the election. Any other challenges you face in terms of conducting the election in Suriname, especially in Paramaribo?
Yes, actually, we had faced multiple challenges. One of them is being the knowledge of the voters, because most of the voters here are seamen and also logging company workers. They travel a lot between countries, and also they get hired quicker than other work segments in Suriname. So they get called from Indonesia while they were still being placed in the voting list, in the voter list of Indonesia. So they didn't know they have to actually arrange the movement of their rights to vote. So that's why we have faced multiple people here that cannot actually vote due to their name being in the DPT in Indonesia.
I see. So that does pose us some kind of difficulty, especially voters who would like to vote there. Despite that, do you think that there is still a good turnout, and as well as in terms of the mood, like enthusiasm from the people, Indonesian diasporas there who want to vote?
Yes, we've seen people here. They were quite happy to have the elections held at the embassy of Indonesia, because other than elections, we also held a joint meeting previously prior to this event. They were suggesting that not only we hold the election, but if it's possible, they also would like to have like other entertainments available. So we had.
Okay, I think we are having another connection issue. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Zaki Hutzaifi Mahmud from Indonesian Election Overseas Committee in Paramaribo, Suriname. We do wish you all the best there.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Now let's get back to our experts, Pak Wijayanto and Mbak Atika. Now to talk more about the winning pair so far, as based on the quick count result, of course. Now Audrey and I were talking to each other earlier, and we believe that it would be a disservice to our viewers if we don't talk about the emergence of another political dynasty here in Indonesia. Now, of course, political dynasties are not uncommon. We find them all over the world. It is quite a common practice for, from one generation to pass on to the other generation to continue the lineage of power. What's interesting here in Indonesia, this is the first time ever that a sitting president has a son on the ballot, and now he's actually belonging the winning pair. So what do you think this means for Indonesia? What is the consequence of this, Atika?
Yeah, that's the thing that I worry about, that the normalcy or the acceptance of political dynasty. Yes, I agree that, in Southeast Asian countries, lots of, countries that really indicate like a political dynasty. But what is interesting, and not really interesting and worsening in Indonesia, the existing president paved the way to the son during his leadership, his administration. That's I think the thing that we need to prevent for the next election. And like I mentioned, it's not really kind of a good sign of how we handle the regeneration, how we should prepare the next leader. We should, I think we should agree that there will be no good instant kind of leaders. To be a good leader, you need like a time, a good track record and commitment. That's the thing that I think we need to highlight, that to become, kind of true and sincere leader, having experiences, and being a part of the government. It's really important, not being part of someone's relatives, someone's son. So yeah, I just imagine that hopefully it will not happen again in the case of that. I mean, the political dynasty will get become like a normal way of of how someone enter into the political, kind of political candidacy. Yeah.
And after this, that's a really interesting point, especially Mbak Atika, and we will touch upon that as well in terms of talking about in the political theory. I think, I believe in the coming future, moving forward, this will be a very interesting phenomenon that political theorists would observe from all around the world. And I believe now, Siska, we are also joined with people from overseas as well.
Yes, exactly. Now, before we continue this hot button issue with Pak Wijayanto, we have an online guest coming in from New York, Indrio Sukmono, Chairman of Overseas General Elections Commission, and also Sarah Santoso, the President of Indonesian Students Association in New York City. Hello, good evening from Jakarta to Indrio and Sarah.
Yes, and good morning there.
Yeah.
Hello, yes, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so your day has just started. Thank you so much for joining us for our special program today. Now, before we ask you about what's your take, what's your sentiments towards the quick count results here in Indonesia, maybe first you can tell us a little bit how did voting day went on in New York City for Indonesians?
Yes, I think thank you so much for the opportunity. I think we were blessed to have a warmer day during the peak of the winter in New York, and I think we want to make it the party of this democracy to be fun and involving range of voters, different types of voters. So we get a view of Manhattan, and we have also Indonesian, food, and yeah, I think we were blessed that we are grateful that it went well. And in my observation, a lot of first voters, young people lining up until 6 p.m. when we closed the polling station. So, thank you for New Yorkers, especially the greater New York area, to come to the polling station on Saturday last week.
And thank you, Pak Indrio. I remember that you are also a professor at Yale in Connecticut, because we have met before, and it's really great to see that there are people as well mobilizing in New York to vote. And from Sarah, I remember back when I was when I lived in New York and I was involved in Permias in New Jersey, there was such high enthusiasm, especially from young voters when I was voting in 2019, in which I actually voted in KJRI, New York, in the Consulate General, and we would queue for hours, and sometimes we would even take a bit because we're still waiting for the ballots. What about this year, especially with now lots of Indonesian students being in New York? Is it still the same positive enthusiasm that we had as before?
Yes, I think this year's enthusiasm is also as high as 5 years ago. I heard the stories about queuing in front of the consulate, and then people are waiting until like 9. But for this year, surprisingly, everything went so smooth. We all already have our letters. We just have to come there with our passport or our national ID. And I was also so surprised that it took me around 2 to 3 minutes to just actually go to take to do my vote. So I was really happy with all the people behind this to support this election. And also the enthusiasm from the students. I heard they were like so sad, those that forgot to register, but we were given still the chance to take like on the spot voters if they still have to vote left, and then it's like 5 p.m. around that time. So those are where the queues are longer.
Yes.
And that's definitely a really great thing to learn, because I still remember Siska being there, and so it has such, New York is so close to my heart. And
someone's
I
missing
think
New York
this
right
year
here.
is different, because when you remember, a long queue from the consulate up to the Central Park, but this time, because of course the consulate is not big enough, and also it's during the peak of the winter, so we actually rented a warehouse, but with it's amazing view, of Manhattan. So I think thank you, Sarah, and and the youngsters and the newcoming students, but that's right, that the mostly younger voters, they're lining up 1 hour before the polling station closed, so it's between 5 and 6. But I think from the experience, I think it went smooth. So thanks so much for being a good voters.
Okay, that's good to hear, Pak Indrio. Now, last question before we let you go to go about your day here in New York City there. Maybe you can tell us more about what's the process now that is taking place in New York. We know that the election has been concluded, so is it now voting count that is happening right now? And maybe if you could tell us a little bit more insights, does the voting results, as far as you can see, is it reflected in the quick count results we have here in Indonesia by any chance?
I'm not sure about that, the last questions, but let me show you that behind me is, of course, the counting as stipulated by the KPU, the election committee. So we will start the counting today, sometime later at 1, and we started with the KSK, with the mini polling station from Philadelphia and Dover, New Hampshire, and then tomorrow will be followed by the results from the polling station in New York, and the last one is from the through ballots voters from U.S. Post Office. So behind me is the counting stations that we will start later today. So we plan to have at between 3 to 5 days to finish all the counting. So hopefully, Sarah, your friends, and please, you can join. If you cannot come, also we'll provide the hybrid counting, so you can check out the Zoom link for the counting.
Thank you, Pak Indrio. And to Sarah, now as we are concluding the Indonesian elections, how is the response of most people there who are usually millennials and Gen Zs living in New York, in Permias, New York City? Has there been any talk, especially amongst the young generation, now that we've seen in Indonesia the quick count?
Yes, so because the quick count just started, we're like early in the morning and I haven't met like my friends, so I didn't really know what they think about the quick count. But from what I heard when we're doing the counting, the election on that day, we did it 3 days ago. I think everyone is very happy that they can exercise their vote, that they can actually contribute to our country, although we are far away. So I think the enthusiasm and I think everyone has their own choices, but at the end of the day, we are one nation. Whoever got to win, we will support. And here, I feel everyone is very positive. There's not, I didn't encounter any heated arguments and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Sarah Santoso, President of Indonesian Students Association in New York City. And also many thanks to Pak Indrio Sukmono, Chairman of Overseas General Elections Commission in New York. Best wishes for the counting process that will take place later today. All the best, Pak.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Now we are back in the studio. I know still in conversation with two lovely experts. I think we've had a lively conversation and dialogue so far. And you know what? I'm really curious because before this we discussed about political dynasty, which has happened in, as you said, Siska, in other countries. But usually there is a span of time between the two leaders. Like let's take
there's a gap.
There's a gap, right? There's a gap in which we, you know, in countries which are democracy, would have to see how the other opponents do, or you know what their reign is like. And this one, if this is actualized and you know this team becomes a president, then I'm curious. Now going to Pak Wijayanto first, like, what do you think are some of the consequences for Indonesia moving forward? I mean, you can discuss starting just from being, you know, in the geopolitical landscape, in our positioning in many other countries, in ASEAN, you know, like, because we've had such momentum leading up to 2024, and we also have a vision of Golden Indonesia 2045. And so with this now pair that is leading, what are your projections for the future?
Yeah, well, such a big questions. But I will start from New York, from America. So there are two professors at Harvard. Their names are Stephen Ziblatt, Daniel Ziblatt and Stephen Levitsky. And they wrote a very interesting book about, the title is How Democracy Died. So it actually portrays the story of how democracy dies in America during the Trump presidency. And they also conduct analysis, of course. And there are 4 signs of the death of democracy. First is the violation to the rule of law. The second is the weakening of the political opposition. The third is the repression of the civil freedom, including the media. And the fourth is the tolerance to the violence. I will focus on the first, which I guess more or less similar with Indonesia, the violation of the rule of law in terms of election. You know, and I will relate it to the political dynasty. So you know, we have a rule of law that we have to obey, right, in terms of election, and the rule says that you know, candidates can only go if the required age is fulfilled, which is more than 40 years. Right? And this is where the political dynasty comes into play. You know, by definition, political dynasty means the use of family ties, be it because of blood ties or marriage, to gain or preserve power. So let's see. Actually, the rule of law says that it's not allowed, right? But because of the use of you know, family ties, using the constitutional court, there's the regulation and the law is revised. And it's not my word, but this is the word of MKMK, the ethical court for the constitutional court, suggesting there's a problem for ethics there. Right? So the homework to the future is that, you know, we have to make sure that we don't you know, make it normal. Because, you know, it's not because of Gibran or President Jokowi himself, but you know, any next leader can do the same, and it will not be good for the country, for the other politicians too. It will not be a fair competition, of course, right? Because ideally, if we go back to America, you know, we have George Walker Bush, came to the presidency, but that's long after the Bush senior resigned, right? And also we have Megawati Soekarno Putri, but long after, not just that Sukarno not only no longer ruling the country, but he already passed away for long ago. It's different with this one. So my suggestion would be, in our law in the future, rule of law in terms of election, you know, there must be, you know, a stipulation in which, you know, a current president or someone in power, be it governor or something, he cannot, you know, promote for his son. Well, he's still, you know, you have to wait like for 2 or 3 years or 4 or 5 years maybe. So, you know, it's fair for everyone. So it will be a note for the future. And you asked me about the Asian situation, right? I guess not long ago, actually, I remember when I was in Paris in 2022, I met my friends from the Philippines, and early that year they have Marcos and Duterte, right? And I could see that they were so sad because they come back to the past, right? And also Bongbong and Marcos, they do dancing and so forth and so forth for method of campaign.
Social media was very much heavily used for
there.
Bongbong,
So I guess actually as a trend in Southeast Asia, but as I have mentioned earlier, it's also a trend around the world. So I mean the democratic recession. But you know, like Gramsci, I'm a pessimist intellectually, but optimist in the heart. So of course we still can see the future. Maybe we can start from the speech of Pak Prabowo. It's time to, you know, bring the country together. I guess we can start from there. And but of course, with remembering all the notes, you know, along the way until we have this election today. Yes, that's the thing that we have to keep in mind.
We understand your concern, of course. There's a big shadow of nepotism in this pair, but now that the people, the general public have, you know, overwhelmingly chose them as the winning pair, if we base this on the quick count result, we can agree that all the strategies they've put forward during the campaign was successful. You know, using Gibran Rakabuming Raka as his running mate was also a strategy that proved successful. He's finally there. He's the, you know, if everything comes to actualization, then he is the next president of Indonesia. Now, campaigning is over, as Prabowo Subianto himself have sat there on the podium. Now it's time for nation building, right? So there's a different sets of strategies that he must now put forward to make sure that Indonesia will continue on this growth, on this forward, on this path of becoming one of the true leaders of the world. And especially by having somewhat an experienced vice president, there's a lot of proving to do, right? Mbak Atika, what do you think they should do to make sure that they can really represent Indonesia well in the global stage?
Yes, I think maybe I want to continue just a little bit what Pak Wijayanto mentioned about the factors that influence the decline of democracy, and Pak Wijayanto already mentions about the the rule of law, and I think I want to also highlight the importance of opposition, right? The opposed power, because what is lacking under Joko Widodo administration is we have a weak, or even we are lack of opposition that really can influence the government. What we need now actually,
check and balance.
They actually have a play roles in check and balances. And I think opposition really important to act as a watchdog. They not only observe the government activities, but also to bring the government in the right track back. Bring back the government to the right track. I think that's the important thing, because if we want a democracy, then we need opposition to really maybe criticize and give input to the government. So what is needed for the kind of the existing the new Prabowo government in terms of political dynasty? I think Gibran really needs to open to any kind of should be open mind to any kind of inputs, because we know that he just have a power for 2 years, right, in the major, as a major of Surakarta, and I think it's not enough really to prove his competency on
worthiness.
Worthiness also, and that's why I think have a kind of a mentor or learn from senior previous vice president, for example, to really train him, and really, become, like the dialogue a partner for the new vice president. I think it's really important. So in that sense, yeah, being like an open mind and really want to learn. I mean, learning by doing. I mean, how to manage the country. It's not easy, and it should be done by the vice president and also the government. Yeah.
If I could follow up on one point that you mentioned, Mbak Atika, which is very pivotal indeed for the clean governance that we need, for Indonesia to truly flourish, is the importance of opposition. Now that we see the number for candidate number 3, Ganjar Mahfud, which came from the party of PDIP, which are garnering very little votes right now, do you think maybe they can take their part as opposition, and will they be worthy of it? What's your
I think also the same. Probably the political party that will position itself as a opposition could be PDIP, and also I don't know, Nasdem and PKB, whether because previously they have a record on the kind of a ruling party sides. So I think it's good that there should be opposition power, and PDIP could play that role to really have a check and balances role, and to really have, like I mentioned, give inputs and criticize I mean the government, so the government will keep on track, right? And I think it will be interesting if PDIP take that role, and because they have experience of 10 years back, and I think they will play kind of significant contribution in how the country should be managed, and they can give inputs to the government. I think PDIP should play that role.
It would most definitely be good to kind of like see how in this process of reaching to democracy, how each party, again, like have been discussed before, reacts and responses, right? Because I think that's critical for us too, as people, as citizens living here. And I would love to get the closing remarks, especially from Mbak Atika as well as by Wijayanto. I mean, we've seen in this tonight, this evening, I mean, the quick counts. We've seen press statements from Prabowo Gibran as well as from the KPU. How do you see this moving in the future, and also what are your hopes and wishes, not only for Indonesia's democracy, right? Because I think that's really important. Why we have elections is democracy, but also for the citizens, because I think we have to cover that, because the citizens of Indonesia are the ones who are going to be experiencing this. So, what are your thoughts on that from Mbak Atika first?
Yes, I think what is interesting is we need to maintaining the non-electoral participation of the younger generation. I think we already see how the increasing or the deepening civic engagement, through like tangkap professor and then slepet Amin, slepet Imin, and then desak Anies. I think it shows some of the creative, kind of platforms to really have a dialogue with the, with the ruling government, for example, or with the, elites that really connect them with the, with the followers, with the supporters. And I think it should be maintained. There should be, we need to create that spaces on how really the citizen can have a kind of direct participation and giving kind of criticism, inputs or recommendation to the government on the existing policy. In that sense, I think I try to be optimistic on the side of we have kind of innovation in our democracy, right? In that sense, yes, despite all the kind of election fraud and problems, political dynasty or the other things, but I think I can see the other side of the democracy itself. That there is a kind of, like I mentioned, innovative kind of engagement, and it should be preserved, and we should. I mean, the government should also, provide that spaces.
So political engagement it is encouraged between young voters. Pak Wijayanto, do you think that is still possible in this new era of politainment? Yes. Which what you said, and again with your recap as well, sir, please.
Yes, well, so I guess I'm happy to be with you guys.
Of course.
In a very historical moment of our country. I guess the notes that I would like to share is that we have now succeeded conducting a procedural democracy. Yeah. We are the most complex, I suppose, right? At the same day, with so many voters, and we have to be happy for that. But of course, our agenda for the future is to move beyond the procedural democracy to substantive democracy. And it's indeed, we need the participation of the voters, the young generation as well. And one thing that we can learn from the very past recent event is that I'm happy with the rise of the academics in campus to, to promote our democracy, from 70 universities, right, and 20 institutions, and that's quite a lot number. Yeah. But now the job is actually to transform the democratic culture, I must say, or democratic knowledge to the younger generation. Yeah, maybe it's a little too late for them to speak, right? Yeah. But I hope we can learn that we may not stop, right? Yeah. Because we have to transform the democratic culture, and I guess the social media has something to do with it. I believe it can also be platforms because media is medium. We can use it for the good cause and also for the bad cause, of course. But we can feel it for the good cause. And with that, I'm optimistic that we still can see the future. It's not about person, namely Prabowo or Anies or Ganjar or Audrey or Siska, but it's about the institutionalization of our democracy. So I agree about the institution, about the opposition. We have to build that institution, but also the culture. So because democracy needs democratic culture, and it needs knowledge as well. So I guess it's autocritic for me as an intellectual, as academic, to transform the knowledge to the people in general, to the younger generation, to the Gen Z, to share the memory of the past, for instance, how the new order, how we are here now. Right. That's the important thing to do.
Oh, amazing. Pak Wijayanto, PhD, Associate Professor, Digital Politics and Democracy from Universitas Diponegoro and Director of Center for Media and Democracy, and also Dr. Atikah Nur Alami, Head of Political Research Center, National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN. We truly appreciate your time, your insights, and hopefully we can also serve an opportunity to give our viewers a lot to learn from, give them better context and understanding, and as you said, give them a good cause to learn about democracy. Yes. Pak Wijayanto, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So that's the end of our special program, Audrey, and that means that it's also the end of our special live broadcast to cover Election Day right here in Indonesia. We thank you so much for joining us. Remember, though, the election is far from over. We still have the legislative candidates to think about, and we're also going to wait for the actual results from the KPU. That's another month, so stay tuned to TVRI World. Until then, I'm Siska Becker.
And I'm Audrey Toyo. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and we'll see you next time. For now, bye.
Bye.